to another Casual Friday. Hope everyone had a great week. How you doing, Corey?
I'm doing so good. That's such an inviting way to welcome everybody in.
So how was your week?
My week was typical. I mean, work was work. It drove me nuts. Came home, went to sleep, tried to. I had trouble sleeping this week for whatever reason. And here we are recording another episode.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same over here. I surprisingly had a weird week of sleep too.
That's odd.
Yeah. It's like we're syncing our cycles.
Oh, geez. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
So I know you were telling me something happened big with the NFL this week.
Oh my God. Okay.
I missed the game, so
it was not necessarily big in terms of, oh my God, did you see that? But it's definitely one of those moments like, were you there when the network blacked out for a solid 20 minutes in the middle of a playoff game?
I mean, I remember when that happened during Super Bowl.
And that's the thing. The network that decided to just pull the plug has the Super Bowl this year. So I'm sitting there, we're all sitting there like, they have the Super Bowl and they just lost transmission during one of the biggest playoff games of the season. Way to go, CBS.
I mean, I don't think that bodes well for what's coming for the big game.
No, it doesn't. I have never really been a fan of the CBS broadcast. I feel that it's too, I guess, fancy is the word, because they seem to be like, it's the NFL on CBS, and it just...
What we really want is more slime time.
Oh my God, if we could have
just Nickelodeon Super Bowl.
Yes, Nickelodeon Super Bowl, slime time in the end zone, SpongeBob explaining all the penalties. Please, let's have that.
There you go.
That would be great.
So, other big news that happened this week?
No, there was nothing else that happened this week that was big. No, not that I could think of. I
mean, we did have a change in the presidential office.
Oh yes, that was a thing that happened.
That happened this week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing, I'll make a little disclaimer: we are not political on this podcast at all.
Nope.
We do not let our views out, and we do not mind whatever your views are.
Absolutely.
Everyone is entitled to what they believe. But big congratulations to the new office that has been placed this week.
100%.
I'm sure, as everyone knows by the title, this episode is all about music.
Music is probably one of the most important things to me.
I think it's, to a lot of people, one of the most important things.
You hear that a lot.
It's something that hits you right in the soul.
Yep.
You know, and music, it transcends your emotions at the moment. It helps you cope with things. There's so many benefits to music.
Yeah, you hear that all the time. Like, people are like, I can feel the music. And I say that. Yes. I say that a lot.
I definitely can feel the music with some of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. I've felt that being in the building. I've felt that just listening to it in the car, even just listening to it while I'm, in the kitchen cooking dinner. It's kind of hard to explain, but you folks listening, you know how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just this internal kind of reaction of, you can feel the emotion behind it, or anything that it was intended to make you feel. It just takes you over, and you just can't explain it.
I know. I can visualize it just based on my mother.
Yeah.
For instance,
okay.
Because I remember multiple times I would go out with my brother and my dad when I was young, and we would go out to the store, go grocery shopping or something. And my mom was like, I'm going to stay home and clean. We would come home in the house. We had surround sound at the time. It was literally thundering because she had music on almost full blast. The whole house rocking out to Madonna while she's cleaning.
I think, and I do that a lot. Like, I'll just crank the music no matter where I am, because sometimes the louder it is, the more you can really connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people, you hear all these stories of just letting the emotions that you've been holding in come out, like you said just before, coping with certain points or moments in your life.
Lyrics sometimes, they just, for whatever reason, can coincide, or at least the way you interpret it, it coincides so well with what's going on in your life.
There's always something, and a lot of the bands and artists that I enjoy listening to have kind of been there through all those major bullet point moments of my life, whether they are positive or negative. they've bookended so many chapters of my life and so many very poignant moments that I can hear a song or look back to a concert that I saw and immediately tell you this is what was going on in my life and this is how this particular concert or musical moment helped me get through it.
For me, I mean, very similar, but I have such an eclectic palette.
You do.
Like, it is so wide ranged that different points in my life have introduced me into different musics.
That's cool.
So when I was younger, you know, I was listening to what my parents would listen to. My mom was a big Madonna fan. My dad was, you know, he would listen to Iron Maiden here and there. Both of them would listen to, you know, 80s hip hop. So, I mean, that was a lot of the stuff I grew up with. And then when I started to get into my own zone, you know, me and my friends would listen to ska music. You know, we would listen to a lot of the pop punk type stuff that was big when we were young, early 2000s.
Shout out early 2000s, folks.
Yeah.
You all know what that sounded like.
So, and then as I grew, when I met my wife, that's when I first was introduced to metal.
Metal has always been on the outskirts of my musical world because of the people that I know. Like you and your wife, I know of metal because of you guys. Mm-hmm. I will not sit down actively and listen to it because I just, my musical world is very different than yours.
Yeah.
I'm diverse, but within a specific genre and sound.
Yes.
I will divert from that from time to time. Like if you throw on like the 90s throwback hip hop channel on Sirius XM, I will turn that shit up all day long. But I will, you know, very comfortably go right back into my usual musical road. Mm-hmm. But the people that I have in my life have introduced me in bits and pieces to different styles of music. I don't dislike them. It's just not part of me the way certain other genres would be.
Yeah, which is fine. You know, you have what you know and what you're comfortable with.
Yep.
And you're always, and that's the benefit of music. As long as you're willing to listen, you know, you might find something that you actually enjoy.
Oh, yeah. And I've done that. Like, there have been random things from my childhood. Like you said, you were growing up, you know, with a mix of like Madonna, Iron Maiden, and 80s hip hop. I grew up with very different sort of instrumental type stuff, like not new age in the sense, but like things like Yanni.
Really?
Yeah. No one really talks about Yanni these days because everybody thinks that he was like this new age hippie kind of instrumentalist. He was an instrumentalist. A lot of his music did not have vocals, but it was this grand sort of almost not orchestra. I mean, there were orchestra elements in there, but everything about his music was big and loud, and there were different...
It's like during Christmas time, you get the Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yes.
And it's like arena instrumental.
Yes, and that's what I grew up listening to in the house, in the car, on trips to go see family, and it was something that I will always remember because there were so many different instruments and sounds, and it made me appreciate that first before I got into specific genres and artists.
And even lyrics, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it was just about the musicianship and the sound.
That's literally feeling the music.
Yes, and I think that's where that came from for me. It wasn't about lyrics because there were no lyrics. It was all about actually feeling the music. Because if you watch a Yanni concert, you can see him kind of go into this zone of actually feeling what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And growing up with that translated very heavily into when I first got into an actual band or kind of lane of music. My first band that I remember loving was The Offspring.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I purchased a CD from Borders Music and Books, if anybody remembers what that was.
It's definitely better than Barnes & Noble, in my opinion.
Oh, my goodness. I remember I saved my allowance and I bought it with my own money, and I was so excited, and I put it in my portable CD player and just played it in the car, and it was loud, and there was just all these totally different sounds from what I was listening to as a much younger kid. Mm-hmm. And that's when lyrics started to play a role in my head. Like, oh, these guys are like having fun and partying, or they're angry about something, and I'm angry too, I think, maybe.
For me, it was definitely the opposite approach, which is why now I know that I'm more of a lyric person. I mean, I feel the music just like you do, but I felt the lyrics more then and now, just like you felt the music then. You know, I always honed in toward what they're saying and the passion in their voice as they say it. Whether it's 90s gangster rap or it's, you know, folk music, it doesn't matter. I listen to what they're saying and I want to hear the message they're trying to bring across. And the music, that's what really evokes the feeling.
Yeah, it's different for everybody, and I've started to develop a deeper appreciation for the lyrics as well as the sounds, just because of the bands I've been listening to just recently over the last, handful of years, because it really is about the lyrics with them as well as the sound, as opposed to certain bands focus on the sound and certain bands focus on the lyrics, I think. But I'm starting to develop a deeper appreciation for both as opposed to just one.
I know one of my favorite bands that I showed you, and I think you like them, is the Gaslight Anthem.
Yes, you have.
And the lead singer, Brian Fallon.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, whether it be Brian Fallon solo or the Gaslight Anthem, they have such a story that is being told in the lyrics that you need to hear it and see what's being said.
Yeah, you've introduced me to them quite a bit, and I do like them. I've been meaning to put them into my musical rotation, but of course it's gone by the wayside until just talking about it now. It kind of made me go, oh yeah, you were supposed to do that, dude. Come on. But I've enjoyed everything that I've heard coming from both him as a solo artist and the band itself.
I know his solo stuff. I mean, one of his songs is my wedding song.
Yes, it was.
So, I mean, it's a wonderful music that he creates.
Mm-hmm. And you find those connections with those creations and you make it, like you said, a wedding song. And I think that's what's so cool about people loving music so much, is that you can find such a connection that it becomes something as important as a wedding song.
I told you what my favorite band was. What's your all-time favorite?
Well, I mean, for anybody that's listening to this,
I know what it is.
Yeah.
I didn't even need to blink an eye at it.
No, those of you who are listening to this who know us, you're not going to blink either. Those of you who don't really know us yet, or know me yet, will either laugh at me with what I'm about to tell you or be like, yeah, I get it.
I mean, I already feel your wife's eyes rolling.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. She's probably listening to this, at home right now or in the car, and she's going to go, it's the Dave Matthews Band. And you know what? I am not even the least bit ashamed to admit that. I know people out there are like, oh, the Dave Matthews Band, they suck. And if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. I happen to absolutely love everything about them. From the moment I heard them for real, like sitting by myself for the first time, not just in passing, all the way up to now, they have bookended so many parts of my life. Good things, bad things, absolutely terrible things, absolutely amazing things. They've just somehow been there. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for me with them. I have so many stories about when I've seen them in person, hearing them for the first time in my bedroom at my dad's house, and the way I felt when those drums kicked in and the whole band came in, and just I got goosebumps. Like my whole body just reacted, and I was like, this is not normal, I don't think, but it became my normal because that's the way music should make you feel.
Yeah, and that's how the Gaslight Anthem makes me feel. When I first heard them, it was just a random track on like a compilation album that a record studio put out. And then I got into them and I was just lost in the stories that they told, the music that they made, how heavy they could rock and how soft they can play as a ballad. And I mean, for me, Dave Matthews, solid pick, especially because I know how much you love them. Mm-hmm. My opinion, I've never been too much of a Dave Matthews Band fan. I loved back when MTV actually played music videos.
Oh my God.
And I used to watch Crash all the time that it was on.
Well, that was and still is their biggest hit.
It was a breakout hit for them as far as the public goes.
Yes, and it's a great song. I mean, if you really look at the lyrics, it's a freaking creepy and somewhat dirty song.
Very dirty.
But that was their breakout hit. They have so much more than that.
Oh yeah.
They are so much more than just that one song, or even just the 5 or 6 radio hits that they have. They take like the actual sounds, the music, and they elevate it to such a level. There's different elements within the band. There's jazz, there's funk, there's soul, there's folk, there's all these things. And at the time when I first got into them, I didn't know that you could have all of those elements within one band. And every time I heard something new, my eyes just got even wider and wider, and I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And once I started to connect the lyrics with the way I was feeling, then I really started to understand and appreciate it even more, and it just elevated and elevated and elevated.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's a wild...
I know you took me to a Dave Matthews show.
Yes, I did.
And seeing them live allowed for me to really appreciate them on a new level. A live performance by them, I mean, it's one of the bands I could definitely say seeing them live is even better than hearing them on a record.
I agree. As much as I love them and will always love them, seeing them live and hearing even their live records and recordings, far better than the studio stuff, because they reimagine and reinterpret the songs as they go. So it's never the same song twice, even if you see them back-to-back nights.
Someone I saw like that, Eddie and his wife, Lauren, were two that brought me to Jason Mraz.
Oh, Jason Mraz is so good.
And Jason Mraz music is just, I mean, seeing him live again is so much better than his records, and his records are great. I mean, he's got all his hits that end up coming out, and yeah, you get tired of the radio play, but when you see him perform it live, he does it completely different.
Yep.
And he puts you at the edge of your seat because you don't know how he's going to perform it.
Yeah, you know the song, you're very familiar with the song, but is he going to do it in a slower way? Is he going to do it in a more intense way? Is there going to be some random instrumental in the middle that maybe from a completely different song that just blends together like a DJ at a wedding? I love when musicians do that.
And
that's
when
amazing.
they can do that they're not just performing the script that they're given. It's such an amazing talent.
Yes.
Because when they're just doing it to do it, they're not showing and showcasing what they really can do.
Yeah.
When they can improvise on a whim, I mean, it shows just how amazing music can be.
And that's what I love about the Dave Matthews Band. I'm going to keep going back to them for the entire episode, so I apologize in advance.
If you want, people out there listening, we could start a drinking game. Every time Corey mentions the Dave Matthews Band, take a sip of a beer, take a shot, whatever you want to do, just don't drink and drive.
Yeah, please don't. I don't need, emails or Facebook comments saying how like you hit a tree or something. That would make me feel terrible.
Because if we do that drinking game, you're going to get drunk.
Yeah, no,
he's going to talk a lot about that.
I am, but it's something that I'm, very passionate about. And like you said, with the improving and everything, that's what they do. They have the song, which is like, the first 3.5, 4 minutes. But some of those songs can be extended because the music just keeps coming. Mm-hmm. And every time you hear them or see them, it's something else. I'll listen to them on the headphones and it'll be something that I've heard dozens and dozens of times. And I'll notice, a little saxophone hit or a drum hit that I may not have caught the first dozen times I heard the song. And it makes you feel and see and experience the song in a different way.
That's very much like jazz. I took history of jazz when I went to college for a little while.
Nice.
And in history of jazz, improvisation is one of the biggest things. Just to be able to do it and not have to worry about following note by note what the song is. So that improvisation, that whether it's Dave Matthews Band or whether it's jazz in general, it's amazing to see the musician perform it.
Yeah, it's, and it kind of blends into my next favorite band, which is Pearl Jam.
Okay.
They are not much for improvisation in a sense, but the songs that they put out and play live are very different each time you hear them. It's the same sort of, point A, point B, point C kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the solos are always different. It's not like these extended Grateful Dead style jams.
They make their recording, they get people introduced into what they are creating, and then they make it their own every night, and it's almost like a snowflake. No two are identical.
110%. Same thing with the set lists. Never the same thing, ever. They've never repeated an exact set list, I think, ever as a band.
I mean, a lot of the times you do end up running into issues that happen, and the set list changes on the fly too.
Oh yeah, I've seen plenty of concerts where somebody will post the set list afterwards, and you'll go, well, I didn't hear that, and that song happened in the beginning, or it didn't happen at all. I love that about musicians, that they're able to just be like, maybe the crowd's not going to feel this one the way that we want them to. Let's do this instead.
Yeah. Or issues happen, like we were at Jones Beach for that Dave Matthews show, and it starts downpouring.
That was incredible.
And what was the song he played after the rain stopped?
After the rain stopped, he played Don't Drink the Water because it had been pouring. And okay, I'm going to go off on a tangent. I'm sorry. But there's this song that they have. It's called JTR. I have only heard it twice in the 14 times I've seen them live. But there's a moment in the song where he talks about the rain. And every time it rained before or during a show, everybody around me would be like, oh, I hope he plays JTR. And we're like, no, he's not going to do it. There was one show that I actually took my wife, Jess, to. It was the first time I took her to see them live. And it had been pouring all day. And I'm not talking about like, oh, it's raining, better get my raincoat. We're talking like torrential downpour. And I'm just like, oh shit, like this, we're going to be standing out in the rain. She's going to be like, oh, standing out in the rain. As soon as we got to the venue and we were getting ready to go inside, the clouds just opened up and there was no rain. But the first song that they played was JTR. And when that bridge came about the rain, the entire building lost it. Because he finally did what everybody wanted him to do. And it didn't rain the entire show until we got back in the car as soon as it was over.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, music is amazing. I love music. Hooray, music.
I know I had another rain experience. I went to a concert. My wife, Samantha, my buddy, Taryn, we went to Jones Beach. It's always going to be Jones Beach.
It always rains at Jones Beach.
So we're there. We're going to see the Honda Civic Tour. And opening was a band that I love now that I never listened to or gave a chance to when I was younger, Alkaline Trio.
I've heard of them in passing.
Their lyrics, their stories, their music, it's amazing. Amazing. So they opened. Then My Chemical Romance.
Oh.
Which was just a misery to sit and just watch tweens just jump around like they knew what they were listening to.
Lose their minds. They didn't know.
It was horrible.
No, they didn't know.
And then ending it, Blink-182.
Solid.
And the whole show, the storm clouds are looming. What's going to happen? Usually Travis Barker, during his solo, will go on this apparatus that goes over the crowd.
Great use of the word apparatus.
Right? So it would go over the crowd, and he would do a solo over the crowd. But because of the rain, and it did start to rain during their performance, he couldn't do that. But they didn't stop the show. So Travis Barker's drum solo comes, and all you see are the storm clouds in the distance. On Jones Beach, you see the lightning striking, and you see him just slamming on the drums. And with every drum strike, you just see poof, poof, poof. And it was so amazing. We were ill-prepared for the rain.
Oh, I'm sure.
Soaking wet, but, it was amazing.
Take a drink. That reminds me of my first Dave Matthews Band show. It was in... I'm serious. It's almost exactly the same setup where you weren't prepared for the rain, but the clouds were there, and then just as the show was about to start, you hear this thunder coming, like it's coming at you. Mm-hmm. And you're just like, well, here we go. We had lawn seats. Shout out to my friend Chris, who was there with me for that one. But as the band is like warming up, like they used to do this thing where they would, like tune their instruments and warm up and kind of like fiddle around a bit. every time Carter, the drummer, would do the bass drum kicks, the thunder would hit. So it would be like bass
It
drum
was like
kicks.
a call and response between the bass and the thunder.
Exactly. And then when they started that first song, the lightning, and it was just that perfect moment of, I've waited years and years to see them live in this moment, and it was just the perfect way to start
Wow.
it. Yeah, it's great.
Very fun. So we were talking about concerts. What was the first concert you ever saw?
The first concert that I have conscious memory of was the Eagles.
Really?
Yes. Total diversion from my current musical landscape.
And an amazing like band in general.
Yeah. My cousin Andrew, shout out cousin Andrew.
I feel like there's a lot of people that we've been to concerts with that are going to be shout out to.
Oh yeah. Here's another drinking game. Every time we shout out somebody, take a sip.
You guys are going to be drunk.
It's going to be great. Growing up, you know, he's much older than I am. So growing up, you know, whenever he would babysit my brother and I for my parents, he'd always have music on, and it would most likely always be the Eagles in some form or another. And I never asked him about it, but I just knew that whenever we would go over there, the Eagles would be on the stereo. And eventually, when I got old enough to understand who they were, I asked him, I'm like, you know, how long have you known about the Eagles? He's like, oh, they've been around forever. And he told me the history of this band. And it was just kind of like, they're, you know, they're like classic rock at that point. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't where I was at musically, but I appreciated it because he was so passionate about it. And then they were doing their farewell tour, one of many. Artists do that all the time.
That I've been to a couple of farewell tours, 2 different years
For the same people?
for the same people.
Yeah.
To like 2 different bands.
It's crazy. But they were playing at the Nassau Coliseum, and we went. I think it was me, him, and my mom. Someone else was there. I can't remember who it was. It had to have been my mom, because she loves the Eagles too. Anyway, and hearing them live, I can still remember like the opening moment when they came out on stage and played that first song. I think it was called The Long Run. And I just knew the drums, and I knew that it was coming, and boom, there it was. And that was my first exposure to live music. It was great. And then obviously everybody wanted them to play Hotel California.
Of course.
And they waited until the very, 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 very end of the encore to do it.
Which I think a lot of bands do to keep you there the entire time.
Oh yeah, because
You know, I saw Steve Miller Band. I got free tickets I won on the radio.
nice.
It was the year he was being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I saw him, and he didn't play the Joker, which everyone wanted to hear, until the very end. So, encore, and that was the last song also. So the biggest song that everyone knows, I'm a Joker, I'm a smoker, boom, waited until the very end. But his show also, for an older rocker, amazing.
I only know him because of that song.
Really?
Yeah.
If you looked at his music, you'd be like, I know this song, I know that song. You would not realize it's him.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I like stuff like that. Like, you hear songs in passing so many times, but you never really commit it to memory. And then when someone goes, oh yeah, that's this person, you're just like, no way.
Yeah.
That's what I love about music, man. It's everywhere, and it's different for everybody. And getting to meet people, you know, especially like, for example, at work, there's so many different people that I work with, and everybody listens to such a different variety of music. Mm-hmm. I just love the way that music can bring people together. It's so cool.
And one of the different varieties is my first concert compared to the Eagles for you.
Okay.
I saw Metallica with Godsmack
Oh yeah, that is a complete left turn
compared
from,
to what you heard.
Yeah, compared to what I heard. You know, you get a little intense there with guitar solos and stuff, but then we go to you and it's just wham. Right in the
I mean,
face.
I have so many different styles and genres that I've seen. I mean, I'll tell you guys later what one of the strangest arrays of music in one concert was. But that's a little later. But Metallica and Godsmack, Metallica I thought was going to be the show stealer, but it was Godsmack that really made me want to go see more concerts.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought the
Because
same thing as you, that Metallica.
Metallica was a headliner, yeah, but Godsmack put on the better show. And every time I've seen Godsmack, they put on an amazing show. They don't need pyro, they don't need anything. And it's just them, the music, and when Sully gets on the drum set, Sully, the lead singer, he used to be a drummer. So he does a drum solo against the drummer. So it's just that dueling drums that puts on an amazing show.
It's little moments like that in concerts for people that will make you remember them.
Oh, yeah.
I love things like that. I saw Pearl Jam at the Garden after trying to get tickets to see them for probably 4 or 5 years. And, you know, they're 3+ hour shows because they just keep going and they just pack the set list. Like there's no little breaks where Eddie talks to the crowd. I mean, he does that, but they just go song, song, song. And you're hearing so much amazing music in such a short time that after a while, you don't really know what's going on. You're kind of in that zone. We were there and all of a sudden this guy just comes walking out and you're like, oh, who's that? And then the crowd figures it out and starts going absolutely crazy. He just brought out Sting from the Police, just out of nowhere.
Really?
Just walks on stage, no introduction, nothing, and just starts singing with him.
Wow.
Little moments like that I'll never forget because they didn't make a big deal out of it. They let the crowd figure it out for themselves. And after 2.5 hours of just intense, you know, lyrics and music and moments, this huge thing happens and it just takes you over the top. And all these different concerts that you've been to and I've been to, I'm sure we could just go on little moment tangents for the rest of the episode.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I know, going back to that obscure concert, my Uncle Lou got us tickets.
Oh, the one with multiple styles in one thing?
Yeah. And it was, I mean, it's all pretty much rock, but it's just such a random array of artists. It opened up with Jay Giles.
Wait a minute. I think I know Jay Giles, right?
Yeah.
Don't they do that song? Oh my God. Centerfold, right?
Yep.
That's them.
Yep.
Yes.
And I mean, for the most part, that was the only one that anyone wanted to hear. But the whole Madison Square Garden erupted with it.
What a great place to see a show.
And that was the opening act.
That was the opening act?
Yes.
Oof.
Next was Leonard Skinner.
Wait. So you go from Jay Giles to Leonard Skinner?
And I mean, it wasn't anything amazing in my opinion, but it was amazing to see them, considering it's not the original band and all, you know.
It's bits and pieces of them put together.
And for the most part, that's how I would say it. And it goes from that to Kid Rock as the headliner.
What?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. If you're a Kid Rock fan, you do you, boo-boo. But that's a swerve.
I mean, my uncle got tickets, and I was like, yes, I'll definitely go to that. Because it's one of those, like we were saying before, the early 2000s, mid 2000s. It's something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wouldn't miss an opportunity to see that in a heartbeat.
I think if you put a similar situation in front of me with 3 random bands that I obviously know well enough, and you said, hey, they're having a show, do you want to go? 9 times out of 10, I'll do it, no matter who it is.
Yeah. And it was a fun show, but it was one of the weirdest ones that I could say that I've been to.
I could see that because that's a very eclectic mix of people.
But it was also just a mix of hits, and you knew almost every song.
Oh, so they all just played the hits?
Pretty much.
Oh, that's cool.
And it was just so fun. So I know we've both seen our favorite bands. For sure, you've seen Dave Matthews 14 times, I think you said?
Yeah, something like that. 14. Well, actually 14 and a half, because the last time I saw them, it actually got rained out and they had to stop halfway through.
Jones Beach?
Yep.
There you go. So I've been to Gaslight Anthem plethora of times. So I saw the Gaslight Anthem at the Piers, the Chelsea Piers. I saw Gaslight Anthem in Jersey. My wife took me. That one was in Red Bank, New Jersey. You ever been to Red Bank, New Jersey?
I don't think I have.
So Red Bank, New Jersey, home to Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash, the comic book store owned by Kevin Smith.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, there's I don't want to call it a soup kitchen, but it's like a community restaurant.
The one that Bon Jovi runs.
Yes. And we ate there. And you don't have to pay anything, but whatever you do pay is donations. So it's all goes right to the charity of them, and it goes right back into the business.
I've heard so many stories of him, even though his name is on the building, being in the building more often than not.
Well, he wasn't there when we went.
Of course.
But there was quite the gentleman there that says he was a roadie for Bon Jovi.
Says he was. You look a little not convinced.
I mean, his stories were a little outlandish. They were a little odd in a way, but at the same time, more informative than you would have thought. And he knew like family members, and like he doesn't seem like the guy that knows how to work a computer too well. So I want to believe it, but he does seem like he may have lost his mind a little.
But he also knows more than the average person should or would know about someone like that.
Yes. But the only reason that we were able to talk to him is because, as well as it being like a community food shelter type restaurant, it's also community seating. So you may be sat with someone you don't know.
I see.
I don't know how they work now with COVID, but at the time, to me, it was a really fun experience. It was just a random stranger we sat with, we ate food with, and we conversed with.
And that's cool. Obviously now things are different, like you said, because COVID, but I wish more people would be open to an idea like that.
Yeah.
Because that you learn so much about other people that way. I just wish more people would.
It's just the human connection.
Right. I wish more people could understand the human connection better.
Compassion needs to be practiced more.
And it's funny because we talked about all these different bands who I'm sure lyrically and musically kind of put that idea forward. And so many of these people say, yeah, I really love this band and I love what they stand for and their message. But are you really listening?
Good question. So we spoke about our favorite bands that we saw.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is a band that you would love to see, or a person you would love to see that you haven't yet?
I struggled with this question when we were kind of talking about this off air.
And I did too, because like you said, we've checked off so many boxes of bands we've wanted to see.
Oh yeah. I mean, Pearl Jam, Dave Matthews, Coldplay, Jason Mraz, Dispatch, all those people.
A very different list from what I have. Gaslight Anthem, Rancid, Flogging Molly, Dropkick Murphys, Blink-182. I mean, the list goes on, but very different from what you have.
Oh, yeah. Like I said before, I'm kind of in the same general area of music, like that rocky sort of jam band kind of thing. So they're all similar, but different in a way where yours are very different person to person, band to band.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And I've been to plenty of festivals that I've seen many bands that I never would have expected to see alone, that I got to see them with a lineup of 20 different artists.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have some local stuff like the Great South Bay Music Festival.
Yeah.
I saw Robert Randolph there. And
really?
Oh, my God. You want to talk about a show? He's guested with a lot of the bands that I've seen that we've mentioned previously.
I found him from our favorite radio station on the island, 92.9.
Oh, my God.
WEHM. And when I heard him, I was like, wow, this guy's good.
He's outstanding.
Wow.
As a guest artist, he adds a totally different element and level to that music. But by himself with his own band, I was up in the front on the rail for that show. You want to talk about feeling the music. He was like on the chair and playing this like steel pedal guitar like it was, the last steel pedal guitar on earth, and if he stopped playing then the world would just end. It was so intense. And after it was over, I actually was at that festival with my mom and my grandmother. They were like, we were watching that from way back there. He was crazy. Huh. And I'm like, yeah, he was. And it was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had.
I'll tell you, I'm definitely a little jealous of that one.
I wish I could see him again. Shout out Robert Randolph.
But who is someone you want to see that you haven't seen?
Oh, yeah. We kind of went off.
We went on a tangent.
We did. This whole episode is just a plethora of stories and memories. who do I want to see? Definitely Eminem. I know that is a total 90-degree turn from where we've been.
But you're an early 2000s kid.
I am. Every summer, I'd go to summer camp. Shout out to my buddy Alfonso and my late friend Scott, rest in peace. The two of them kind of introduced me to a different kind of music than I was used to back then. And Eminem kind of just stuck with me for forever. And I don't listen to him as often as I used to, but every so often, driving home from work late at night, I just crank the car up a little bit and listen to the hits, and it just makes you feel real good.
Okay.
So he'd be one, and then kind of swerving back into my usual lane, Ben Harper.
Okay.
He's one of the ones that I have yet to see. That
I'm definitely not as familiar with him as I am with Eminem.
Yeah, Ben Harper, he's kind of, if you know who he is, you know who he is. But he's like a bluesy kind of soulful sort of rock type, but folky kind of musician.
Okay. I probably heard something of his. So like we were talking about before, you have those bands that you hear songs. So I probably heard Ben Harper on the radio, and I just don't even remember him.
Right. And if I played you some of his hits, you might be like, oh yeah, I know
that guy.
Yeah, that guy. That's the Ben Harper guy you're talking about.
For me, I personally, I struggled just like you did. There's so many bands that I say I wanted to see this person or that person, and I've seen them all, and I'm very happy I got to see them. One that I haven't seen yet that I really want to see, Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
I am familiar with their work. In college, there was not a ska phase that I went through, but a lot of the people that I hung out with were big into it, so I just couldn't avoid it. It was always on. It was always there. It's great. But
me and my closest friends all love ska, and we still do to this day. When Real Big Fish comes to town, we go see Real Big Fish, and amazing show they put on, as goofy and fun as it is.
But that's the point.
Yeah.
The point is to just have fun.
But Mighty Mighty Bosstones don't really tour anymore, but they have put on the Hometown Throwdown every year right up in Boston. So we've wanted to take the drive up there, go to Boston and do that, but we've never gotten a chance to. And now that we're getting older and settling into our ways, hopefully we could do that.
I hope so too. I hope you get to experience the musical unicorn that you've been chasing for so long.
Yeah.
There's just so much to talk about. We've talked about our favorite people and concerts, but then there are the stories within those people and concerts. And I think that deserves its own episode.
I would agree.
Because there are so many moments, even within those moments, that have changed the way I see the world, that have changed the way I appreciate the music that is being played.
And appreciate the people I go with to see them.
100%.
So with that being said, I think we could easily have a storytelling episode of our concert ongoings.
I think so. That would be a great little story time with Casual Friday Podcast.
I know for me, I have so many tales to tell about mayhem festivals I've been to, which are heavy metal festivals that had just so many bands I never thought I'd see. I know I got just stories of going to the city, road trips I've taken that I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have stories of, wanting to see a particular band for so long and finally getting those tickets, and then the experience that comes along with that. I've got stories with people that I've gone to shows with that have brought us closer together because of those shows. I have so many moments, even within those moments, that I, like you, don't want to gloss over. They deserve their time and our energy to tell those stories.
Agreed. So, I think we should hit some other music to send us out.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, let's hit some Emspo.
Shout out Emspo. Thank you, sir.
And we will see you guys soon. You can check us out. I'm Anthony Marchese on Facebook, at Papa Formaggio on Twitter and Instagram.
And I'm Corey M. Martin on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Looking forward to talking to you guys next time.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to Casual Friday Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and anywhere you listen to your podcasts.
And if you'd like to reach out to us directly, casualfridaypod@gmail.com. That's casualfridaypod@gmail.com. Join the conversation with us. Use the hashtag casualfridaypod. Let us know some of your favorite concert moments and memories, and we'll talk about them in the next episode.
You guys have a great weekend.